Hey guys, just your average Joe here, and it is my very first album review. I started this channel back in February, and the thing that I wanted to do the most, moving forward, and the more comfortable I got, the more experience I got with this, is I was looking forward to reviewing movies. I was looking forward to reviewing sports, and if the chance came up or the opportunity come up, to also review newer music that came out, whether it's albums or singles, anything, pretty much anything that I find interesting, anything that not only that I find interesting, but that I would want to share with you guys. So I figured, look, my channel for the last few weeks, unfortunately, has been more trivia based and somewhat group streams, and I kind of strayed away from that one-on-one where I would just sit here, record, whether it's my thoughts or whether it's to review something. I know I did a couple of movie reviews a few months back with Jojo Rabbit, Parasite, and I kind of strayed away from that. I got really comfortable with the live streams, and I got more engaging and more, I guess more used to the fact that it was no longer just me talking to a camera with no feedback. It was, having a co-host on or having several co-hosts on and talking about something in a discussion or the trivia and whatever. And, I do want to provide something else for my audience, for those of you who follow and subscribe to me on YouTube. I was, doing StreamYard events on Facebook as well, which I get really good views, but I feel like it takes away from my YouTube audience. So I do want to also do something of this nature. Today just happens to be an album review, but I do want to do things moving forward. The problem is, and I do know sports is coming back. I'm not too excited about that, and I'm going to go about that maybe in another stream. But the problem is there have been no movies, with the exception of the home premieres, which really haven't been any big hits, with the exception of The Invisible Man. But there have been no movie reviews that I can do because there's nothing that came out. You can't go to the theaters. Sports has been on a hiatus for several months now, even though they're coming back this week. And just so everything that I set out to discuss and talk about, and whether it's the one-on-ones like this or whether it's the group streams and the discussions, I haven't been able to. Most YouTube channels now, and more power to them. I'm not against it, but I follow so many YouTube channels that that I've watched over the last couple of years, for their take on movies that were coming up, especially like The Last Jedi a few years ago, Rise of Skywalker last year. So a lot of those YouTube channels that I subscribe to were just to get my info on that. But there's just no information out there. So a lot of the things that are coming out now are all rumors, speculations, and I just feel like, yeah, I can come on and report some of the rumors I've heard. Not through sources. I will say that I have no sources. They would just literally be stuff that I've either read on the internet or from other YouTube channels, and not only just to rip off or just discuss other people's news, but to have a discussion with either you or somebody else on the show. But because there's really nothing of anything, not only of no substantial news, but everything is, like I said, speculative. Everything's rumors, and I don't really want to report on that. Yeah, I know they get hits, I know they get clicks, but I would rather review things or talk about things that I know are concrete. I know that, let's say in a perfect world, nothing would have happened and Black Widow would have came out back in May. Disney Plus would have released some of their newer Marvel shows like they were supposed to. Because everything was pushed back and there's nothing to report, I guess I kind of slacked on creating different ways to come on here personally and do a one-on-one show. But anyway, so the title of the show that I'm going to obviously post, so you should know by now what I want to talk about. But right now, what I wanted to discuss is the band Bush. They've been my favorite band, and please Don't hold that against me, but they have been my favorite band probably since 1995. Ever since 94's 16 Stone, ever since, Everything's Zen hit the radio waves, followed by Little Things, and then, of course, Come Down, Glycerine, Machine Head, and so on and so forth. They have been my band. I saw them for the first time in 1995. That was my first concert that I went to without my parents, so it was a big deal for me. It was just me and two other friends. I got Gavin's autograph on a shirt that I bought. It was just a really cool experience, and it was I guess it was a very influential experience, and I guess that pushed me towards, besides the fact that 16 Stone was, a clear hit, but at the same time, definitely being my first band, seeing them by myself and getting that autograph, it definitely influenced it even more so, and I haven't looked back ever since. I will say 16 Stone is probably, even still, because they just released their 8th studio album this Friday, is still no album has topped it. And it's hard to top. It's hard to top an album that has 5 hit singles. And Razor Blade Suitcase came very close, and I love that album. And that tour was probably the best tour I've been to, because I went to see them, when they were touring 16 Stone, obviously, if I saw them in 95. And then in 96, when Razor Blade Suitcase came out, I went to most of my concerts in 97. I think I went to 3 or 4 of them in just that year alone. So that experience, and then of course I saw them multiple times after that. It's so hard to count. That's how many times I've seen them live. But, anyway, so what I wanted to talk about was the new album that just came out on Friday, The Kingdom. It was supposed to come out back in May, but everything was pushed back because of obviously what we were going through with COVID-19. Last year, when they first announced the album, it was originally called The Mind Plays Tricks on You, which after listening to the album, you've come to find out that is actually a lyric in one of their songs called Undone. So I guess that's where they got The Mind Plays Tricks on You, but they renamed it The Kingdom right before. I believe they announced that in March, when Flowers on a Grave hit, if I'm not mistaken. But so Flowers on a Grave was their second single. Their first single, which was Bullet Holes, which was released a year ago with the John Wick Chapter 3, which was also a great song. But my problem, so getting right into the album review, when I first read the track listing for the new album, the one thing I was hoping for, I was like, please don't have bullet holes. Please do not have bullet holes on there. Not because I think the song is bad, because it's not. But I just felt like because it was incorporated in a movie soundtrack, and because it's been over a year removed since we've heard that song, I guess the selfish part of me just wanted. So you have Flowers on a Grave that's been out since March. You have Bullet Holes that's been out since last May, not even this May. So that's two songs right there from their 12. So that means you're only getting really 10 new songs. So I was like, oh, please. But anyway, so Bullet Holes is on the album. So if you go through the list, you got Flowers on a Grave is the first song on the album, which we've heard. And really, I love the song. I loved it when it first came out. The video was very interesting, as is Bullet Holes. But then when you listen to The Kingdom, which is the title track, that's right in between Flowers on a Grave and Bullet Holes. So The Kingdom, just a heavier sound. It's got a very new sound, and I can understand the influence that Gavin was talking about, touring with heavy metal bands like Metallica or whatever. Do I classify this as a heavy metal album? No, I don't. It's just a heavier Bush album, especially comparatively to the very mellow and very I guess radio friendly, if you want to call it, Black and White Rainbows that was released 3 years ago, which was a good album by itself, but that you can tell was more of an emotional album. It was right after his divorce. You can tell a lot of his songs had to do with that, and just the way it was tonally, this album is it's just much more aggressive. So right after Bullet Holes, you got Ghost in the Machine, which Ghost in the Machine was definitely at first listen, when I first heard the album back on Friday, was right away one of my favorites. As I started to listen to it more and more, I've changed my I guess my choice or my decision a couple of times. But if you start at number 4, which is Ghost in the Machine, and then you go 4, 5, 6, and then even 7, it's just boom, 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 nonstop. Just the riffs, the heavy sound, the lyrics, which I'll be honest, look, I am a very, very huge Bush fan. I really am. And everybody's going to be like, oh, the people that know me at least are going to be, you got bush colored glasses on, or, you're going to be very biased because that's your favorite band. Yes and no. I can give critiques just as well as I can give compliments. And I will say, lyrically, I feel Gavin really, that was never really his strong suit. Although I do love every song by Bush. I really can't say I dislike any Bush song from start to finish, from the first album to now. Are there some throwaways on their albums? Of course there are. There's throwaways on probably almost every album from any artist. Doesn't take anything away from them, because look, as I can sit here and say that, lyrically, maybe, I hate not complimenting a band that I love, but at the same time, lyrically, I think is their weakest point, has always been Bush, because their sound, the music behind the songs has always been great, and obviously his live performances of these songs, there's energy to their live performances that I haven't really experienced in any other artist that I've seen live, and I've seen a lot. I've seen Breaking Benjamin, I've seen Disturbed. I've seen, anything that Bush has opened up with. I've seen Nickelback, which probably going to get a hate for. I've seen, there's a lot more that I'm not, Stained. I saw, I think Seether. There's just a lot of bands I've seen live, and they've all played. Every band that I just mentioned just now gave great performances, but Bush goes above and beyond, and that wasn't prevalent in their earlier years when I saw them back in like 95 and 96, or 97. They gave great performances, but I wasn't until like the late 90s where, Gavin was like throwing himself in the audiences, and, it just, again, he puts on a really good show. But getting back to what I was saying, lyrically, I feel it was never really his strong suit. And it does go to show in one of his songs, Undone. And Undone is the only song that's a very slower paced, sort of like a ballad, which when I was reading other reviews or even watching another review on YouTube, and they were like, oh, it takes away, nothing wrong with the song, but it takes away from the pace. But any Bush fan knows that almost every one of their albums, actually all their albums, has at least one or two ballads. You go far back as 16 Stone. You got Glycerine. You got Alien, which is a slower pace. You got songs like Communicator, which is a throwaway to me, but still, Bone Driven. Obviously, Letting the Cable Sleep, which was probably my favorite song on The Science of Things. He's always had, like, Inflatable. I mean, I can go on and on, but they've always had a slower paced ballad. And Undone is a great ballad. And I'm not knocking the lyrics on every song, because a lot of the song's lyrics are very, very beautiful, especially Undone. But my one critique on this album is Undone is got a runtime of about 5 minutes and 3 seconds. If you cut like maybe 10 of the times he says the word undone in that song, you not only trim the song down a little bit, but you make it even better to listen to. Because again, beautiful song, I think perfectly paced for a ballad. And the words are also, like I said, I love the words of the song. And, the first thing I did when I first listened to this album is I have Apple Music Play, or why did I just say it that way? I guess I have Apple Music. So I listened to the entire album, and I read along to the lyrics on my iPhone. And I got lost in a lot of the songs, but then when I hit Undone, when I first heard that song, I was like, wow, this is definitely one of my favorite songs in the album. Not only because of its slower pace, but just because of the words. But then, like, after you listen to it a few times and the repetitiveness of the word undone, and this happens on a couple other songs, but it's more prevalent on Undone, I was just like, okay, he probably could have trimmed the undone a little bit at the end, as with, again, or some of the other songs that elude me right now, but if you listen to the entire album, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, that being said, with the exception of, and I even got the, I have Apple Music, so I was able to listen to the entire album, just streaming it. However, they were doing something on their website, the Bush official website, that if you purchase the digital copy of the album for $5.99, you'll get the 2 bonus tracks, which you cannot get on iTunes. So obviously, being a Bush fan, I was like, all right, no problem. Now I'm able to listen to it on this. The only bad thing is I can't get it to transfer onto my phone. So if I want to listen to it in the car, I cannot. But they have 2 bonus tracks, Live Another Day and Beware False Prophets. Now, I kind of wish the songs Words Are Not Impediments and maybe even Crossroads, although Crossroads is definitely better of the 2, they probably could have swapped them out. They probably could have did, okay, Live Another Day is on the album, or Beware False Prophets, the both of them, and then taking out Crossroads and Words Are Not Impediments. To me, especially Words Are Not Impediments, those are a throwaway. That's probably the weakest song for me on the album. That being said, honestly, and again, it's not just because I'm a really big fan, Flowers on a Grave, we all know is a great song, especially from March. The Kingdom is a great title track, but if I had to pick an absolute favorite, it has to be, if I'm going to pick 3, it's going to be Quicksand, Blood River, and Ghost in the Machine. And I honestly think it's in that order as well. The first song right after Undone, which is the slower song, to put the pace right back up there, is definitely Our Time Will Come. And Our Time Will Come is another song that, is just, again, look, this is a much more aggressive album, especially comparatively to Black and White Rainbows that came out 3 years ago. But it does have a heavier sound. I did kind of favor Man on the Run. So we all, as Bush fans, you should know, they took a hiatus after their Golden State album. They took I believe, an 8-year hiatus or so from like 2002. They rejoined in 2010. They had their the single they released back then was Afterlife, and then a year later they released Sea of Memories, which I thought was a good album. 3 years later, they had Man on the Run, which was definitely heavier, and for me, one of their better newer albums until now. I think Bush, the Kingdom, definitely raises the bar, especially for a band, that was a lot more successfully known and, I guess, I don't want to say relevant. I hate to use the word relevant, but I guess you could say relevant in the mid to late 90s. But, obviously as a fan, I never stopped really listening to them and really loving them because I not only buy every album, but I go to almost every show, and the other thing that kind of sucks with the situation is I did have tickets to see them live in Jones Beach this weekend that just passed, but obviously because of COVID, those shows were canceled and everybody got a refund. So, they did a live streaming show, a virtual show on Saturday. We got to hear a couple of the new songs live, which were really good. And they did another one this morning, which I got to listen to with Kerrang. And it goes to without saying, I already know that they sound great live. That's not a shock, but I do really like the way the new songs sound live. So look, my official breakdown is, with the exception of the songs we already knew, which were Bullet Holes from a year ago and Flowers on a Grave, which is a great song, I definitely favor, again, Ghost in the Machine, Blood River, and Quicksand, with Quicksand probably being one of my favorites. And even Send in the Clowns. I love Send in the Clowns. I love that, she thinks I'm insane, so send in the clowns. I actually kind of love that line a lot. But I feel like overall, I think Quicksand just does it for me from start to finish. So if I have to, when I put on this album, don't get me wrong. I usually do play it straight through, all 14 songs. But I will probably, if you have to, I would love to start at 4. And then just go right down to Undone. I'll listen to Undone because, again, it is a beautiful song, even though I kind of wish it was cut short a little bit with the words Undone and how many times he says it. But then he hits us again with Our Time Will Come. And then you got Crossroads, which kind of loses me a little bit. And then Words Are Not Impediments, which I feel could have been probably like a B-side or a bonus track. And then Falling Away, I think, was a really good song to kind of end the album. Obviously not counting the album that has the bonus tracks, but Falling Away is the ending song to their album that's on iTunes right now. So I thought it was a really good way to end the album. So that is my review. If I had to give it out of 5, I would probably give it a 4 out of 5. And out of 10, I would probably do a 9 out of 10. Again, I know I am a big Bush fan, and I know you guys who know me might think I have a bias, but I just think musically and lyrically in some instances, I'm not gonna dog every song, because I think, again, and also to look, it's my opinion. If I was a writer of a song, who are you or anybody else to tell me what I was thinking when I was penning those lyrics and penning those words? Who are you to tell me what I'm thinking? So again, I'm not saying that the songs are bad or the lyrics are bad, because they're not. It's just that some of them are, you could, again, if you listen to every song and you read the lyrics as you're listening to the songs, like I did and like most people do, you'll understand what I'm saying. Like some lyrics are kind of questionable, and some lyrics I don't understand. Like there's one line in Undone. I think it's not Undone. I gave you the best of me, or I gave you the best of me, 45-55. Gave you the I'm trying to pit it to the song that I'm thinking of. Either way, that was one of the lines in one of the songs, 45-55, and I'm over here trying to think, like, what does that even mean? I Googled it. Apparently 45-55 is the perfect breast ratio, breast to areola. I don't think that's what he meant. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm onto something, but anyway, that's my Bush review. If you haven't listened to it yet, and if you have Apple Music, look, you're paying for it anyway. You might as well stream the album. If you want to start with Blood River, which is the 4th song on the album, go ahead. I think it's a great start. I mean, you have to listen to The Kingdom too. It's the title track. I mean, just by default, why not listen to it? But as I said, Blood River, Quicksand, Send to the Clowns, Our Time Will Come, and the bonus track. So my favorite bonus track is Live Another Day, but Beware False Prophets isn't a bad song either, and I kind of wish these two were on the album. Like I said earlier, and I really don't want to be too repetitive, but Words Are Not Impediments and Crossroads probably could have been swapped for those two. But that's my opinion. I'm not the one that writes the songs. I'm not the one that picks the songs. I love the album as it is. I listen to it start to finish. Love it. Recommend it. And that's my review. So guys, if you haven't listened to it yet, please do so. Bush, The Kingdom, and again, if you wanted to hear those 2 bonus tracks, go on to the Bush official webpage, bushofficial.com, and for $5.99, you get a digital copy of the album, and you get those 2 bonus tracks, and that is it. So again, look for more of my reviews in the future, whether it's music, movies, sports, something in general. And again, I do the live stream discussions with my friends. I got another trivia coming up on Thursday that I'm looking forward to, and more trivias to come. But I do want to add more to my channel that I was trying to do from the start, and that was to review and give you guys reactions to trailers or reactions to whatever it is that I find interesting or passionate about. So that's a wrap here, and that's what I'm going to try to do from here on out. And I'm sorry that I went on a little bit of a hiatus with my solo videos, but there will be more to come. And that is that. So guys, enjoy your day. Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Hit that like button and leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know if you've listened to the album. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you don't like it. It's everybody's opinion, and that's that. So it's been Just Your Average Joe with my Bush the Kingdom album review. Have a great day.